RFK Jr. giving a whole bunch of energy to the campaign. We saw that this week, or last week, I should say. This week, we saw Tulsi Gabbard adding some more energy to the campaign. Of course, RFK saying that, you were going to see more and more people coming out for Donald Trump that are historically Democrats.
Campaigning actively, I think President Trump is going to make a series of announcements about other Democrats who are joining his campaign, and I want to make America healthy again, and so does President Trump. So those are objectives. My
big deal. So he's got a platform. He wants to make America healthy again. Clearly, this is going to ruffle some feathers. Definitely ruffle some feathers, as he pointed out there in that interview with Shannon Bream on Fox. But hey, maybe it's time to ruffle some feathers. Maybe. I'm just saying, we've had our feathers ruffled enough. Maybe that's what it's going to take. RFK Jr. actually sitting down with Tucker Carlson, my former colleague over at Fox, and the two of them talked about whether or not a CIA position, head of the CIA, might be in the cards. He had a very good response to this. Tucker also asked him about whether or not he blamed the agency for his uncle's death. Again, a very sort of nuanced response, very diplomatic response, where he's basically like, yep, but, I'm not going to shout it from the rafters. Let's see what you think. You can read between the lines here, but this is Tucker sitting down there with RFK Jr. Take a listen.
A lot of roads lead back, unfortunately, to our most powerful intelligence agency. If you were asked, would you run it? Would you become CIA director if you were asked?
I would never get, yes, I would, but I would never get Senate confirmation. As you know, the intelligence agency are protected by very powerful committees in the Senate and in the House that are already into the project. And the people who serve on those committees are people who would, they would not, they're safeguarding that directorship. And I would be very dangerous for those committees. So I don't think that.
And yet in his, in your joint appearance on Friday, President Trump introduced you by saying that he plans to, if elected, establish a commission to declassify the remaining documents around your uncle's murder in 1963.
Yeah.
And I think everyone at this point knows the truth, which is the CIA is implicated in that. Those documents protect CIA, maybe among others.
Well, whether they do or not, it's odd that they've not allowed them to be released.
Right. In other words, he's kind of hedging there a little bit, but making the point that why are we concealing this information? That's what's extremely peculiar.
What could possibly be the explanation?
More than 60 years after my uncle's death, almost 65 years, 62 years after his death. And none of the people who were implicated in that crime are alive now.
Yes.
And the last ones have died off in the last year or two. And so it clearly is to protect the institution.
Yes.
And that's wrong. It's just wrong. And it's wrong for a Democrat and it's wrong for Republicans.
It's just interesting, though, that a bipartisan list of presidents, these 6 decades, have kept those files classified.
Yeah, right? You got to ask yourself why. Why was that so important? Unless they're just, so concerned about any inkling, any hint of negativity around our government and, what they should or shouldn't have done. Like, let me give them the benefit of the doubt. I know that not many people are willing to, but let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. We ought to have some of these questions answered. So if they're completely innocent, again, answer the questions. It's kind of like we're dealing with the whole Butler County, Pennsylvania thing. And we still have a lot of questions that haven't been answered. Why is it that the Secret Service wasn't communicating with the local police on their walkie-talkies? There's, the instruments that they have to actually speak to one another. Why is it that they waited before actually taking the guy out? What exactly went down there? Why is it that they didn't have enough personnel? There are a lot of questions. And so far, the answers are not very good. Can you imagine if something had happened to Donald Trump? Can you imagine? I mean, that's pretty terrifying stuff because it would have sent the country into an enormously difficult time. Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness. Wow, it's hard to believe that was just a few weeks ago. That's how quick this political news cycle is. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, really fascinating interview between Tucker there and RFK Jr. that's worth a listen. Make sure you subscribe to this program. Meanwhile, share, like, comment. We are live right now, so careful what you put in there.